Good morning, beautiful people, kings and queens. I'm gonna send you that record. Got you. The Hut. You gotta send me, I think I got your email, but just DM me your email again. Good morning, everybody. From the Bronx. So listen, yesterday I did, last night probably about 1 in the morning I did a live video, and I was talking about Jermaine Dupri. Jermaine Dupri did an interview on Big Ticket Show last night. Yesterday at some point. Clarifying his situation because, he's been in the news. And they've been talking about what's been going on with him. And it's supposed to be that Jay-Z talked him out of doing the same deal that he did with the NFL or whatever. Me and Jermaine Dupri had a conversation a few days ago, about some clarity, about some things, because, a lot of things are going on. He felt like a lot of people had attacked him during the issue that he was dealing with the Super Bowl. So I just wanted to give some clarity of my role, in my position. Last year, prior to the Super Bowl, Jermaine Dupri, who was a friend of mine, somebody I known for 20 plus years when I first started rapping in the industry, Jermaine Dupri was one of the first people that wanted to sign me. So our history goes back to 98. So, Jermaine Dupri had been very vocal about, issues regarding the Super Bowl and protests mainly. So, Jermaine Dupri had made a statement on his Instagram saying that he didn't see protests were ineffective and that boycott, none of that shit had ever worked, and he was going to do something else that was, whatever he was going to do was going to be some shit that actually made change, because he ain't never seen no boycotts and no protests getting undone. I particularly took issue to that statement, being somebody who protests and knows what protests do. Understanding what protests do, understanding how when you protest it pushes legislators to do things because they realize that this is the voice of the people. So when you protest properly and use the strategy properly, it makes a lot of change. We've had legislation change, we've had cases dismissed, we've had officers fired, we've had all types of things happen based on us doing protests and marches, like people say they ain't marching, whatever. Similar to what Dr. King in the Montgomery boycott and protests did for the bus. So we've done that. We've done, literally, we've marched from DC, from New York to DC with 4 pieces of legislation, and 3 of them have been activated. 3 of them we changed legislation with a march. So when people tell you that shit, they don't know what they talking about. They tell you that because all they see is a march, and they don't know what the backstory is. They don't know what comes after it. So, a lot of people just think that laws get changed. You think that these prison reform laws got changed just because somebody just was sitting around. No, because the world marched and protested and all of these things in which we pushed the legislators to write these bills because they seen that this is things that the world wanted, that the people wanted. So moving past that, Jermaine Dupri had made his statement, and then I went up behind him and was like, JD, I think you're wrong. You don't know what it does because it's not directly in your field, and you haven't asked what laws have been changed, what differences have been made based on protests and marches. You just going by, the common trend thing that people say, oh, ain't nothing happening with no marches, y'all marching, ain't shit happening. You just following that. You're not asking people that actually are marches, and it's actually offensive when you say that. And I broke it down to him, and then he reached out to me. We had a conversation, and there was clarity at that point. Everything was cool. There was another part that I left out yesterday that I didn't put in. So then, directly after that, Jermaine Dupri is in the Waffle House with the Superbowl trophy. So it was like, okay, this is a direct smack in the face. I just had a conversation with you. Now, the Waffle House, we was protesting the Waffle House because, if you don't know, my sister who is on trial right now, in the courthouse probably right now, for disorderly conduct and resisting arrest was damn near assaulted and attacked by an officer in there because she had a dispute with one of the workers there, in which the worker didn't want to give them plasticware. The worker was very ignorant, very loud, disrespectful. She was leaving and asked for the number to the corporate office, in which she was met with aggression, disrespect from the worker, and they had a verbal exchange, which was no big thing. And she was, after that verbal exchange, she was attacked by the officer and charged with disorderly conduct. So he walks in there with the Super Bowl trophy. He takes a picture in the Waffle House, which we boycotted, with the Super Bowl trophy, which we both boycotted. So it was like he was directly trying to come at us. I'm like, JD, you don't gotta help us. Like, you don't gotta utilize your voice to help us do what we're doing. Because it doesn't matter. If you don't want to utilize your voice to help us, but just don't hurt us. If you don't get what I'm saying, then probably just get off the thing. Don't utilize your platform to go against everything that we protest, because if we win, everybody wins. If we win because we want to be treated equal and we all get equality, then it's going to benefit you too. So don't hurt us if you're not going to help us. So that's what I said to him. At that point, a lot of activists from Atlanta who I know started to go at JD. They did radio stations, they did podcasts, they used their social media, they did everything and started attacking them, calling them sellout, doing all things. So the attacks became rampant. And a lot of them had tagged me in it. JD realized that these were people that I knew. So he reached out to me at this point, like, yo, you know these people? I'm like, yeah, I know them, JD. So he said, these people coming at me, they don't even know me. So I'm like, listen, let me talk to them and find out what their real issue is. Contacted them, brokered a meeting between them and JD. Cool, JD flies me out to ATL. We have this meeting. At this meeting, they bring parents of lost children and parents and loved ones of children and men and women who have lost their lives to the hands of police brutality. They sit in this meeting, there's some clips around, they sit in this meeting with they're directly telling him that he's taking blood money because he was working with the NFL. If he wanted to work with the NFL, he was taking blood money, and they weren't okay with that. I pretty much just was the mediator. of this meeting because I knew both parties and I was able to mediate the meeting. There's a lot of emotional moments in that meeting. There was a lot of understanding. I think we came to some level of understanding at the meeting. I never told Jermaine Dupri about the Super Bowl because that was not my issue. I never thought that Jermaine Dupri cared about the issue of the Super Bowl. I never utilized him as somebody who was involved in civil rights. So he was a person that does entertainment. He was doing what he did. I never had any expectations of him not to perform or be involved in the NFL. What I told you, like I told you, my whole involvement in this situation was when Jermaine Dupri decided to utilize his voice to say that protesting wasn't effective and that people was marching for nothing and he was going to utilize something that made change. That's what I got involved in it. When he utilized his platform to go in the Waffle House, which we were boycotting because they had abused a young black woman in the NFL with the trophy, like he was saying, fuck everything that black people stood for. That's when I had an issue. I never was dissing JD. If you go back and look at the post that I put up, I never was dissing JD. JD went on Big Ticket Show and said Mysonne was dissing me. I never dissed him. Never. There was clarity. I was informing him of the facts of what was going on. There was never me dissing him. Now, when you look at the situation with Jay-Z and the difference between what happened with Jay-Z and JD, when JD was doing what he was doing, it was at the height of the protest. It was before Kaepernick got any settlement. It was before there was a gag order on Kaepernick. So at that time, we were fully engaged in the all-out boycott and protest of the NFL. And they were directly trying to utilize JD just for entertainment to get the black people there. Merely for entertainment. You know, there was no, and if there was something that was done, it was not advertised. There was no, he said that they had social justice things set up. Yes, I did hear about that. But there was no advertisement of those. They were not brought to the forefront. What there was, only advertisement there was that JD was bringing show, he's going to have artists perform, whatever. And even though I didn't care about what he did with it, the people from his city had an issue with that. So he had to directly deal with people from his city who had to deal with it. At that point, if you look, there's another video up where he said Jay-Z never told him he was boycotting. He said nobody was boycotting the NFL. That T.I., all of these artists that was talking that they were definitely still involved in some way with the NFL and in entertainment around that time of the Super Bowl. This was his words. He didn't say that Jay-Z took anything from him or tricked him out of doing something he was doing. There was never no conversation about that. If that happened, it wasn't what he said. You know, JD was on the media committee for the Super Bowl. Look, so none of these things are being discussed. But that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to make, again, wanted there to be clarity. I never had an issue with JD doing entertainment in his city. That's his city. He's been entertaining his whole life. That's on you. Just had an issue with him trying to discredit the protesters who have been doing this work for years and have been getting a lot of results. So, I don't know why, you know, there's this issue and there's this miscommunication of what, because me and JD talked a couple days ago, and I clarified that then. So I was never dissing JD. Now, with the difference between what JD and Jay-Z did, I explained to you what JD did. Jay-Z went into a situation where social justice was at the forefront. Where it wasn't about, you know, of course he does musician, he brokered the best deal, but All I heard was that social justice was at the forefront. The change was at the forefront. That was not the situation. And it was after Kaepernick had a settlement. For those who don't know, Kaepernick has a settlement with the NFL for collusion. The same reason that we protested the NFL, because we said that they colluded against him to not get him a job. The NFL decided to settle with Kaepernick. Kaepernick decided to give them money in exchange for him not being able to speak on the subject again. So therefore, that means that you felt that the amount of money that they gave you resolved the issue in which you were involved in. That's in plain English. Anybody saying, oh, his job owed him money. No, that's not what happened. If his job owed him money, then he wouldn't have made a settlement. What he would have did was took his case all the way, which he would still be able to utilize his voice and be able to expose the NFL and be able to make them give him his job back. Whatever his negotiation and his settlement was, it was not for them to also give him his job back. So he made a conscious decision to go into a settlement with the NFL, which did not entail him being reinstated as a football player into the NFL. We all know when you have a settlement, you negotiate the terms of that settlement. Him being put back in the NFL was not a part of that settlement. So therefore, he had a gag order, he got his money, and he forfeited the ability to ensure himself back in the NFL. Now, at that point, if you take a settlement for the collusion that we are boycotting against, then at that point, you have crippled our boycott. I don't know how somebody else sees it, but as a protester who understands this, I understand that once you take a settlement, the voice of the boycott was muted because you had an NDA. Love Colin Kaepernick, love what he did. We fought, we thought we got what he wanted. Most of us did. What Jay-Z did was decide that, okay, maybe he left the, the movement for this, and he got what he, deserved. Not that he was there for money, because no. But at some point he realized that he wanted to play football and he wanted to be compensated. And at that point, those two things took the place of the boycott. The minute that he decided that he was going to be compensated for collusion instead of put it back into the NFL for collusion, it compromised the boycott in my regards, and a lot of other protesters and organizations who were involved in that. Yes, if we thinking passionately, Kaepernick started a movement. He was the face of equality. But the minute he took the settlement, he could no longer be the face of that because he couldn't even speak about it. Jay-Z took what he did and he took it to the next level to say, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to position myself in the NFL so that what happened to Kaepernick doesn't happen to anyone else. So that the NFL is having conversations about what's going on in our communities, because 70% of our black people make up the NFL. So if we have 70% of the NFL and have zero voices in control that own anything, that are any real rooms to have real conversations, then we have dropped the ball. So, I just want y'all to be clear of that. Alright? Once again, I have no issue with anybody. I'm for us all winning. Some people do this, other people do that. You gotta let people do what they do best. That's what the movement is. It's people finding their interjection into the movement and making the best contributions that they can. Hopefully, they won't delete this one, and y'all be able to see this in clear and in full. Peace.